This podcast is meant for general health information and is not meant to override any medical advice. All questions will be screened and not contain any personal information. If you want a private consultation, contact us via positivechoice.org or you can contact your provider directly. Thank you and enjoy the episode. Hello and welcome to the Positive Choice Wellness Podcast. My name is Anneliese. I'm an exercise physiologist and nutritionist.
And my name's Melanie. I'm also an exercise physiologist and nutritionist.
And we have a very special guest today, Ruby Huerta.
Hello everyone.
She is one of our fabulous coworkers here at Positive Choice.
Fabulous.
And we thought that she would be very interesting to share her own food journey with us because she's been kind of like on an exploratory nutrition plan to better her health this past year or so.
Yeah, this 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
All right, yeah, this started when we were at the old building, huh?
It did. Well, not the... Okay, so we'll get into it, and I'll
we'll get into it later.
We'll get into it in a little bit, but yes, yeah.
We'll see how the story just unfolds organically.
Sounds... Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go.
So, Ruby, tell us a little bit like about how this started for you. What got your focus to thinking that changing your diet?
So it did start roughly 2 years ago. I mean, it's been going on for a very long time. So I was not overly weight, but I was a little overweight for what I liked from previous years of being a lot thinner, and I had gained a lot of weight. What was it, like 5-6 years ago? And then I didn't like my weight, and then it was not just trying to lose weight, but also trying to filter my diet for non-bloating reasons or reasons to do with, like, I get a lot of headaches and migraines. And so I'm kind of guided myself into this journey, and not seeing a nutritionist, not seeing like a dietitian or anything like that, but just getting into seeing what works for me and what doesn't. And then I've come to realize that I am a gluten intolerant person, so I'm definitely sensitive to gluten, and
gluten just doesn't tolerate you.
It just doesn't exactly. It just doesn't, a lot of things don't tolerate me. But that was just kind of my journey, and 2 years ago is when I finally realized that that's what it was, and or realized that the reason why I had all these problems, the gaining of weight, the frequent migraines, the bloating, I had constipation, sometimes I had to lose stools, things like that I realized cutting gluten, full of gluten foods really helped me in getting into the, not just losing weight, but also getting to a place where I'm not feeling bloated, I'm not feeling foggy or having a headache or getting migraines as I usually used to in the past. So that's kind of where my journey had led me. And so in working for Positive Choice, it does help. I've been with Positive Choice a little over 2 years now, about 2.5 years.
Uh-huh.
And it's also kind of, I'm thinking, oh, maybe you always find a reason. There's a reason why you do things or why life happens. And it really started during that journey, working here, plus also getting into that diet. I thought, oh, it's really working here and looking at the material or the curriculum, and because we read things here and we talk to our coworkers, and we work with a lot of dietitians and nutritionists, and so it's just a lot easier to kind of make this diet plan for yourself and really listen to the people that you work with, and we definitely it's not super strict, but we, as a culture, as a kind of a group of coworkers or collective, we realize that encouraging a better, not a diet plan really, and not like our fasting programs or anything like that, but we just really have a culture of healthy eating, which I really like here. So
yes, we do lots of knowledge sharing,
right,
and
food sharing, because Anneliese and Melanie are amazing cooks, and every time they do bring food in,
she's the first one in the door. Where's my food?
Exactly. So it's very nice to work here too, and to just have that kind of support. I'm thinking, wow, this has actually helped. And I went from, okay, I'm gonna actually say my weight, but from 195, almost reaching 200, and now I'm down to 165.
Oh,
so
wow.
30 pounds, and it's a lot to do it not by myself, but really just kind of educating myself on what to eat, what not to eat, and it's been a journey.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I know, self-made.
Congratulations.
Just kidding. Self-taught.
But that's more empowering, right? You're like, but I did it.
Yeah.
On my own.
Exactly. And I didn't have to, and I didn't take any like gluten, to test for gluten in my blood or anything like that. And I didn't go to a doctor, which probably should, because about the whole celiac. What if I have an autoimmune?
Right. What if you have legit celiac disease?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of me just going to that journey, and I definitely do have to, and I do have an issue with my liver, which I've had since I was a child. I've had a chronic liver issue. So just even going into that and just really fine-tuning my diet, which sometimes I break. And Victoria Pepper, one of our lifestyle educators here, she'll always scold me for eating a piece of bread that contains gluten or a cookie that contains gluten or whatever. So it's really teaching myself and really not being strict with it, but just being mindful that, hey, this is probably not going to be good for you. You're probably going to get a headache. You're probably going to feel like crud later. So how about let's not eat foods full of gluten. Let's not eat Anneliese's sourdough bread that she brings in and taunts me with. So
I've done the same thing. We all jumped on that sourdough train.
Yeah, that was so good though. So
well, Ruby, how long did it take you to figure out, going through the process of elimination with your diet and what was causing the symptoms? How did you come about to realize that it was the wheat products?
Well, about, I want to say, so I'm 29 now, about, I want to say 14 years ago, when I was 15, I decided to be a vegetarian. So I cut out all kinds of meat, even fish. Eventually I did reintroduce fish, and now I eat meats again. But I did do it for about 5 years, red meat and poultry free. And then around, I want to say when I was 20, I started reintroducing fish back into my diet. So I became more of a pescatarian. But I realized that since back then, because I've been getting migraines and headaches since I was really young. I was about 13, and I didn't really know why, and doctors really didn't know why either, because I was young, and it could be from my menstrual cycle, stress. It could be whatever. But realizing back then what I realized now is that it's the foods that I eat, and I'm very sensitive to certain foods. So it did start back then. I didn't really know that I was gluten intolerant until maybe about 2.5 years ago, again, when I started here at Positive Choice, and when I did start eliminating gluten out of my diet. And by that, I mean like flour tortillas, which is big. I'm Mexican, so that's big in my culture. I mean, even for anybody, burritos, like who doesn't love burritos wrapped in a flour tortilla, right? Or
we live in San Diego.
Exactly.
This is like the core of our food.
If it's not wrapped in a flour tortilla, it's inappropriate.
Exactly.
We can't accept that.
Exactly. So it's like, eliminating that, and then breads, which I love any type of bread, rye, wheat. I love white bread. I love sour. I mean, I love all kinds of bread, and having to take that out of my diet has probably been the hardest, and it's for everybody. I mean, a lot of people love bread. So it's really, 2 years ago is when I started, 2.5 years ago is when I realized, okay, it is. I am very sensitive to gluten, and let's explore this. Let's figure this out. Why do you feel this way? And so I've realized that having a more gluten-free strict diet, I feel a lot better, and I feel I don't have like mood swings, or like, again, I don't have headaches. I don't have that like foggy vision that most people get, or bloating. I've noticed that I have less bloating and less gas, which I'm getting really personal, but I mean, it's true.
We love it.
I'm an open book. So
this is stuff that no one talks about, so we got to talk about it, right?
Exactly.
What I do want to do is I want to add some context for those of you who are listening who are like, what the heck's a gluten? So basically,
what is a gluten?
What is a gluten? It's gluten, and it actually is the protein source in wheat that makes it like when you make bread, it makes it fluffy. It's actually a protein structure that encapsulates the air when bread rises. So when you remove the gluten, it makes bread very sad and dense and not palatable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
It's very sad.
yeah, it's not fun. So gluten is basically the protein structure that makes bread delicious.
Yeah.
But also apparently some people are sensitive to. And I personally, and I don't have the science on this, but I personally think there's something with wheat in America, because if you look at other countries, not the same.
You know, that's actually very true, because I have had pastas where it wasn't made in the U.S. And so I've realized, like, oh, okay, maybe it's the way wheat is processed or the flour is processed or something's going on there that's just not working out for me.
Yeah.
So
Yes, we have different growing standards than
Very different.
like the EU, and I've known plenty of people that have issues with flour products, and then when they have imported flour from Italy, they can make stuff with that and it's fine.
right. Well, even so, when I referenced back to the sourdough bread that you made, Anneliese, when I ate what I think you gave me like 2 or 3 slices of that, I didn't feel, so it could be, or I didn't feel like I got bloated or gassy or whatever. So I don't know what flour you used or what.
It wasn't anything fancy.
They
Okay.
did say that with sourdough, it actually reduces the gluten content when you make it. So
Right.
it's naturally less gluten than you would actually get in a normal piece of bread otherwise at a store. So sourdough is kind of a weird bread compared to its counterparts.
Which, hey, it's fine with me because it's probably my favorite bread. So
It works
Yeah.
out.
it works out for me.
Yeah.
No, but it definitely, I think it does have to do with a lot of the way the foods are processed, or even the flour is processed. So, or the wheat, like you said. So, and for a while I thought it was a fructose or sensitivity that I had, and I thought, oh my god, am I not going to be able to eat onions or like shallots or anything like that? Because that's or garlic even, because garlic is high in fructose. But yeah, I just realized that I fine-tuned my diet, and that's when I live a true gluten-free, or have that gluten-free diet, I realize, okay, yeah, this is what it is, Ruby, and that's a sad life for you, but it's okay. You'll be fine. And
You'll live.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Well, pastas too were a big part of my diet growing up, especially when I did become I keep saying vegan, but vegetarian. I realized that with pastas too, I would still get very tired, but I would eat a lot of bread, a lot of pastas during that time. So it made my migraines and my bloating. And I do have IBS also, so more personal information, but it's just all these issues that I was having. And then I decided, okay, maybe it's time to change my diet. And I wasn't losing weight, even though I was, on a whatever challenge of like a fitness challenge or something like that. I could never lose weight. And once I started a more like less gluten, less breads, less pasta type of diet, I realized, okay, that's probably what is needed. And then I've lost 30 pounds from then, and I've been able to maintain them down for the last 2.5 years. So I'm really happy about that.
And I think this is such a fantastic story to illustrate to people how different our bodies are, and how you can play around with your own diet. And if you want to get like super data driven, you can keep a diary of your symptoms, what you ate, and do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And that's like, you can get better, and there isn't a one diet for all.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how it was a process of elimination for me. And I would keep a diet. I don't do it anymore because I kind of know what I should be eating and what I shouldn't be eating, which again, I do fall off the wagon because it is hard. You don't want to like restrict yourself from certain things because you crave them, and that's okay. It's just limiting, or even just
or
really
you're just
having
accepting that you're going to be miserable
probably
when you do
for
have
a couple days.
But you're like, but I know that's going to happen.
But I know that's going to happen, and I'm okay with it. No, but yeah, it was a process of elimination for me. It was keeping a diary. Again, I don't keep a diary anymore, but just being more mindful of what I'm eating and that's what what positive choice is like when you go in and you're a patient here, they teach you a lot to be mindful of what you're eating. It's all about what you eat. And if you see, I'm not saying that burgers are bad or whatever, but if you fine-tune your diet to like eliminating having burgers every single day of your life, it's gonna change. It's gonna change it's gonna affect you losing weight, as in you can lose weight, and you won't feel as crummy as you would if you're eating, you know, more vegetables, more, you know, greens, more fruits, and so it's just eliminating those things that just aren't good for you. So
right. And us eating, I mean, other than breathing, it's the number one way we influence our body and interact with the world around us. So yeah, if you are choosing, you know, a burger with beef and white bread and God knows what else on it every single day, you are literally feeding that self-influencing your body with those things.
Right. Exactly. So that's where it's led me today. And again, I've lost 30 pounds, very proud of myself, but it's a journey, and it's not easy, but it is doable. If I could do it, I mean, anybody could do it, really, because I'm, like I said, I definitely wasn't strict on my diet before, gained all this weight. And then now it's just a process of elimination, and really just being careful with what I eat. And it's hard. Every day I make a choice. Okay, am I going to have this? Is this going to be good for me? Probably not.
But
So
that is the
that's
mindfulness aspect. And that's really like what we teach to our patients most of the time is that right there, which is paying attention, like, what's this going to do when I eat this? How's this going to react with me? Exactly. Will I enjoy this? Will I not enjoy this? Am I doing this because I'm bored?
Think about what it's going to do afterwards. That's what I always think. Okay, last time I ate this, you know, quarter pounder or whatever, you know, last time that I ate this, or, you know, this burrito, did I feel good after? No, I really didn't. I felt lethargic. I felt like low energy. I didn't want to do anything. I felt in a bad mood. I felt super bloated, gassy, you know, it's not a good feeling. And I'd rather eat foods that, like nuts. I'm like big into, I love walnuts. So walnuts are my thing right now. Walnuts and cranberries, I'll just shove them in my mouth every time.
Walnuts are so healthy.
They're so
omega
good.
3s.
Yeah. And I realize that with those cravings, if I just shove walnuts down my mouth, you know, not a lot, let's not overdo it, but just a handful of walnuts, and maybe put some cranberries or some raisins in there, just to kind of, you know, make it a little sweet instead of having like a piece of chocolate or something. But I'll eat that and I'm fine. I'm like, okay. And then it boosts your energy and you're just like, hey, and then I get to bully everybody here because it's like my number one thing to do here. So it's just
what's great too is there's so many things out there now that are geared more towards the gluten-free folks, and so it's probably the best time to go gluten-free because you have options. Because if you could imagine a decade ago, you'd be like, what do I do?
Yeah,
I guess
what do I eat?
Vegetables all day because there's no alternatives. Okie dokie.
And that's what I love, because now I know, like, when I'm not much of a baker. I don't really like cookies and all that. I love breads, like I said, but just really finding things that are gonna work out with your diet. You could use, you know, like brown rice flour, or like, instead of, you know, all-purpose flour, you can use soy flour. There's almond flour. There's different type of flours out there that you can use, and you don't have to limit yourself. Yeah, I've made oat flour myself, so that's pretty neat. And yeah, I mean, there's just so many alternatives now. You don't have to limit yourself like, oh, great, now I can't have this. But no, you can. I love that about my cooking. I always like find ways to change it up. If I can't have a certain thing, okay, that's fine. I'll fix it so I can mimic what I want to eat, but it doesn't have, let's say like with red meats or even with fish or whatever, like I could just make up a recipe like with birria. The birria is a meat that you cook, and you cook it with, it's usually like goat or beef, and it's really popular in Mexican culture, which I love birria. It's basically meat in its juices, and it has all these
shredded beef.
It's like a shredded beef, like a barbacoa kind of a thing, and it's super good and delicious. But I've learned to make it with jackfruit, so it's just really altering those ingredients to make it work for you. So that's what I love about, again, going back to like a gluten-free diet. There's no limit to what you can do now, because they have so many alternatives and a lot of options for you for gluten-free diets.
Yes. And I think it's probably worth mentioning too that even if you are opting to allow yourself to take one item out to see if you're sensitive to it, that even if you discover you are you are wheat sensitive or gluten sensitive, you still want to stay with the whole foods. We don't want to go down the road of like processed gluten-free cookies. Those are not going to be good for you in the same way that packaged cookies are good for you.
That's what I saw this so much when the gluten-free diet first became popular. And it was before I was like really doing a lot of stuff here. I think it was like in the 2011, maybe 2012, when gluten-free was like, yeah, gluten-free. And everyone was gluten-free all of a sudden. Every single person was like, we're going gluten-free. And they were told that if you go gluten-free, you lose weight. And so they took all their bread that we were eating and replacing it with gluten-free bread. So they were still eating bread. And they would do that. And they're like, but I'm not losing weight. I'm like, well, that's not how the gluten-free diet works.
Exactly.
If you eliminate it, it works that way.
Yeah,
but if you
substitute it, exactly, you're not going to lose the weight.
Yeah, it's not magical. Like, oh, if you stop eating gluten, you're going to lose the weight. Like, that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah.
So, a healthier alternative maybe would be what you would look for. Like, instead of pasta, you do chickpea pasta, or instead of bread, you do like jicama, wraps or something.
Yeah.
Find alternatives.
What I've gotten used, I now eat my tacos, or like if I have like not a burrito, but like a wrap or something, I now have it like more of a lettuce wrap. I bought in Bib lettuce because I think I'm fancy, but really just iceberg lettuce and eat it like that. It's fine.
Absolutely.
And it tastes even, honestly, I kind of like it better because I don't feel as full. You know what I mean? When you eat like 2-3 tacos, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so full. Why did I do this to myself? And now with eating lettuce, then, yes, I do get hungry after 2 hours, 3 hours maybe.
But that's normal.
Because that's what your body is telling. Yeah, it's fine. It's okay to be hungry 2-3 hours later because that's when you need to have your next meal. So
or your snack of walnuts.
Yes, there we go. Or stuff my face with walnuts and cranberries, which I love.
So you're so poetic, Ruby.
I know.
I love this. Just shovel them into my mouth. Okay.
So far, you've given us some good tips so far. So lettuce wraps instead of burritos or tacos, using some alternate flours. What other kind of things do you do that help keep you satiated that you really enjoy?
That's just pretty much it.
She makes really good beans
and salsa.
That's just like growing up being me, right? Growing up being Mexican. Well, I don't want to say all Mexicans is, but growing up being, like in my family at least, I've started cooking when I was like, 10. I was in the kitchen with my grandma and my mom since I was a kid, and I loved it. Burned myself. Grandma said, no, get back in the kitchen, and ever since then, I've loved to cook. I looked at my specialties are salsas. I love doing salsa, and these girls have had it, so I know that we love it. They know that they love it. Yeah.
So good.
Exactly.
Yeah, she knows without asking us that we love it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I just, exactly. I don't even have to ask them. It's just in their face when they eat it. But no, really anything else is just, it's like I said, process of elimination. Find out what's going to be good for your body and what's not good for your body. Eliminate what's bad for your body, obviously. And then I really eat the same, honestly. I really do. Maybe a little more portion controlled. But other than that, other than cutting out, those high in gluten foods, I haven't really altered my diet that much. It's just, and even exercise. I do exercise all the time, so, and I'm the laziest person ever. I hate to exercise, but I do it, and it's just
a priority.
It's a priority for you. Yeah. For and it should be for everybody. So
Agreed.
Even if it's 15-20 minutes just to do it, just a little cardio, and you're fine. 15-20 minutes is nothing. You wake up, you do it. You go before you go to sleep. Before you take a shower, just do that. A little 15-20 minutes. But yeah, no, I do. Not that I haven't changed my diet, or I have with cutting out the gluten processed foods or whatever. I guess, again, portion control, I think I do less of. But other than that, maybe I have. I haven't even.
She's literally figuring this out while she's talking.
I'm thinking, because I eat a lot of the same foods. Again, I just cut off the breads really, and then the flour tortillas. Other than that, I eat pretty much the same. I never really ate horribly. I don't really eat out much. So, and growing up, my parents would never let us, have fast foods. It was like a rare moment that we would have McDonald's or something like that. And so it's really just portion controls and like you said, substituting tortillas with lettuce, or substituting, like I do, sometimes I'll not eat red meats or poultry or fish, and I'll do like a plant-based, which I've gotten really into. It's like a cauliflower ceviche that I'm like super into. I do it all the time, especially when it's hot. But even, I guess with like, the other day I made like a couple weeks ago, I made pozole, and I made it, so no meat, just the hominy and the sauces and all that. And so I guess, yeah, maybe eliminating stuff. You don't have to have a high meat diet or anything like that. You live the life that I do when you start working for Positive Choice. You suddenly stop eating as much meat, and then you're like, where did it go?
I know.
And I didn't really realize that. I really didn't realize that until we started talking right now, that I'm like, well, maybe I do things that are just a little different now, and I didn't really realize that.
I caught on with the jackfruit. That's where I was like, she's doing the thing.
Yeah, I didn't really realize that happened. Oh my gosh, you guys are changing me. The Positive Choice culture. Jeez, it's a cult, guys. It's a cult.
No.
Just kidding. No, yeah, I guess when you work here, and when you work with Melanie and Anneliese, you just, and really, and all our other lifestyle educators, you kind of pick up this mentality of like, okay, this is maybe how I can do this, substitute this. And you don't, honestly, I really didn't realize it until now.
Well, it just goes to show that we make our lives by what we're exposed to.
Yeah, for real.
You know?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to jot down everything. I didn't really realize that you guys had brainwashed me into
Another
into
word
eating
for
better.
Educating is brainwashing.
Oh yeah, brainwashing. There we go. I'm sorry, educating. Let me filter my... Let's use nice words, Ruby. How about that? Yes. I didn't really know I was educated into eating better.
We're all thinking it though. Even though you don't mean educate. It's fine. It's fine. But you know, it's happened to me. Like, you know, it's weird, but when you work here and you're surrounded by the culture of just health all the time, it's hard not to transition into more healthy habits. So I think we're probably more fortunate than some other folks out there who probably don't have this kind of exposure,
really,
you know, to people.
Support. Yeah.
You know, there's so many people out there who probably like, I wish I had a group of people I worked with who were like, eat this, it's healthy. And you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm gonna eat that, it's healthy. Versus, you know, at another facility, like it's cake day and everyone brings in cake.
Can you imagine if we had like
donuts
and pastries and stuff just sitting in the break room?
We're normally fruit from someone's tree.
And it's crazy because when we do have, we used to have potlucks. We don't have potlucks anymore with this whole issue that's been happening. But the pandemic, yeah. So I know, and that thing, which is anyway. But we haven't had our potlucks. We usually do, and even when I started working here, the potlucks, we had really healthy foods, and that was really great. Coming into
like
a culture,
rare if you saw a cookie and you're like, there's a cookie, and then everyone would eat them.
Yeah. So yeah, now that I think of it, you guys have educated all of us into eating better, and again, using that mindfulness, which I really love being here and learning from people that are just so intelligent and like knowledgeable, and they know what they're talking about. You guys know exactly what you're talking about, not just you two, but just every lifestyle educator that we have. You just listen to them and you're just like, oh my gosh, these people actually know what they're doing. It actually works.
Well, it goes both ways, Ruby, because I picked up some cooking things from you when you brought in your tuna salad with the
pickled carrots,
hot pickled carrots, and the jalapenos and the chickpeas. Like, so good. Such a good way to get fiber and lean protein.
And it changes it up, the tuna salad, so it's not just your mayonnaise and relish tuna salad.
Which I don't use mayonnaise because I just don't. I cannot stand mayonnaise. I don't like the taste of it. So I use, instead of for a binder, if you will, I just use avocado, which I love. And then I put those pickled carrots, pickled jalapenos, and chickpeas. And pickles.
Gotta have pickles.
You gotta have the pickles. And and then you just have it like with a lettuce wrap or whatever, you know, piece of lettuce, and you're good. You don't even have to have a sandwich. You can just have a wrap. So different things.
And you get that heartiness from the chickpeas instead of like a tortilla or bread.
And I've been eating tuna that way since I was a kid. So for me, it was like, oh yeah, that's how I do it. And everybody else was like, well, this is how I do it. What? So
we do it the boring way.
Yeah,
what is this?
Apparently you guys are boring. So
now when I make taco salads, I'm always chopping up I make my own pickled carrots too. Yeah. So I chop those up. I'm like, I always have them. So why don't I just use them? Because I always have them.
They're good. Exactly. I've tasted them, and I'm thinking, are you Mexican or are you okay? No.
She's just a really good cook.
Yeah.
I'm Russian. I'm German. That's about it. Okay. That's all I got. And Russians are not known for their cooking, so it's not that side. That's not the cooking
Probably
side.
not then. Just living in San Diego and just really learning.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is a plus. I lived in Fresno for a very long time. They have a huge Hispanic community out there, so I was exposed to a lot of Mexican cooking for a long time.
Yeah, Latino cooking, that's good.
Well, speaking of Mexican cooking, you mentioned your amazing salsa, and we're gonna put your salsa recipe up. So if you guys look in the description, we're gonna have Ruby's salsa recipe. But what's the secret to making good salsa?
Secret for me, everybody does it different, and I'm not saying I'm an expert or anything, but I just roast them up until they're nice and charred and maybe a little blackened.
Do you do it like in the oven?
You can do it in the oven. I do it on the pan. I do it on this large skillet.
And what are you roasting? Is it the vegetables or is it like dried peppers?
No, vegetables. Okay. So it's fresh vegetables, so fresh tomatoes or tomatillos if you want to, make a green salsa. So I roast the tomatoes, I roast the onion, I roast the garlic, the serrano. So I'm a big fan of, you can use any chili pepper you want. I'm a big fan of serranos.
Me too.
And I just love the taste. I love how spicy they are, and they're not too spicy. They're not like an habanero where it's a little too spicy. It's just the right, right spice for me, or at least spice level for me. And yeah, just char it up, get a little black. Let the veggies get a little black, a little sweaty, and then you just blend it all up, add a little salt, and you're good to go. Really.
It sounds so easy.
Yeah. It does. It really is. Well, I showed you a picture or the little video I did. Anneliese hosted. Oops, sorry, I'm not supposed to say this, but Anneliese hosted a little get together. We were 6 feet apart, all of us, but outside, and there was only like 4 of us. And I did send a little video prior to that to them, showing them how I made the salsa. And it's very simple. Like I said, get a big pan or a pot, whatever, anything that can go on the stove, roast those peppers and those tomatoes and the onions and all the veggies. You can add cilantro to it too, not to the grilling process, but when you blend everything with the hand blender, or you can use a regular blender. Sometimes I will use a molcajete, so it's the mortar and pestle or however you pronounce it.
Getting back to the roots.
Yeah, and you just really grind it up. It's a process. It takes a while because my molcajete isn't that big. It's maybe it's not really that big.
They're meant for spices.
They're meant for spices most of the time.
But like a half cup in there.
Yeah, well, I have a bigger one that I got in Mexico. So
okay.
Yeah,
they would for sure have probably the.
It looks like a bowl, a bowl of just a regular bowl. But yeah, you just kind of go in there and you grind it all up, and it gives it a better flavor. You're supposed to, with a molcajete, you're supposed to grind the I guess the herbs first, so the garlic first, and then you put the cilantro in there so that the whole bowl gets the flavoring, and then you go in with everything else.
And it's porous because of the stone it's made of. Yeah. So that's really, yep.
So then you dump that all into like a dish, put some salt in it, maybe get a little chip or something, taste it. So it's not super hard, but we'll put the recipe up for you guys. And
yay.
Yeah.
Such a good condiment.
I know.
Salsa's the best condiment.
Exactly. That's why
it's healthy. It's spicy.
If I were to choose one condiment to have for the rest of my life, it would be salsa.
Same.
Right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I always have a thing of salsa in my fridge at all times.
Yeah. Melanie did not pick salsa though for her one.
No, she picked. What did you do? Spicy brown mustard?
No, God no.
She picked garlic sauce.
Oh yeah, I did do garlic sauce. I forgot about that for a second. I was like, what exists? Yeah, toom. I don't remember to say it, but the garlic lemon stuff. Yeah, that stuff's good. I'll put that on everything too.
So if you guys are wanting to play along with the game, the question is, if you could pick one condiment to use the rest of your life, what would it be? And it can only be one.
Yes.
And we would love to hear your responses.
Yeah.
Put them in the description. Put them in the comments.
Garlic sauce, Huerta fan.
Salsa. You can have different variety of salsas too. It doesn't have to be one.
Different variety of garlic dips. You just add different stuff.
Okay, Melanie, we're done here. No.
We're going to fight about this movie. I know it. We're going to turn off the mics and we're going to go at it.
It's going to happen.
See this ass? You can only hold it back for so long.
And this is me being tame.
It is. All right. Ruby, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing your story.
Of course. I'm so happy to be here. It was really nice. I was really nervous going into it, but definitely I'm glad that I totally forgot that I signed up for this too. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I going to talk about? But thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
So happy to have you.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for being here. And then till next time.
Bye, guys.